a royal and a reformer who embodies the balance between progress and sustainability. Thank you for your warm words of welcome, Nana Kwekudia, MD, Ashanti Green Initiative. We shall now have a foundational address on the role of traditional authorities in shaping artisanal and small-scale mining practices in Ghana. Through the centuries, the wisdom of the Sampamanhene, the kings of Asante, has bridged the ancient and the modern, carrying the golden stool's legacy not just as a symbol of authority, but as a sacred trust to protect their people and their heritage. As a visionary leader, unifier, and steadfast guardian of sustainable progress, the 16th and current Sampamanhene and current occupant, of the Golden Stool, has long championed responsible stewardship of Ghana's mineral wealth in its domain as custodian of the wealth of his people, balancing tradition with innovation, ensuring that her lands flourish while the communities thrive. Today, he graces us with his presence and his insight to speak to us on a matter of urgent importance: the role of traditional authorities in shaping artisanal and small-scale mining, not just as regulators, but as custodians of justice, sustainability, and the future of our environment. Mr. President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is with profound honor and a great sense of privilege I give to you the King of Asante, His Majesty Otumfur Osei-Tutu II.
Wasaji fogu nyagwa singen.
Wasaji fogu nyagwa singen.
Ukra santina je kasangen.
Ukra santina je kasangen.
Wokru beda topeba de me fogu nyagwa si ajumya chemebra.
Thank you, Excellency the President, for allowing me to be the President of Ghana for the next 30 minutes or so. Thank you very much for the honor. My son, who is organizing this mining in motion, was trained by his uncle, Sesam Jonah, and his brother, Ibrahim Mahama. So they trained him, looked after his school and everything, and then I see the reason why he's into mining is that Ibrahim influenced him. Your Excellency, we are deeply honored to welcome this august audience and thank each one of you for traveling from far and near to join us in this very exciting exercise. At the very outset, we count our blessings in the privilege of sharing this moment under the very distinguished patronage of the President of the Republic, Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama. It is a source of immense pride to recount the amount of time and effort the President has invested personally in encouraging our preparation for this summit. And it is only right that we acknowledge and pay tribute to the energy, creativity, and insight with which he has begun the task of researching the agenda for the economic regeneration of our country. We wish you every success, Mr. President. We have assembled together as stakeholders and industry experts to tackle what must be one of the most pressing issues facing not just Ghana, but many other countries in Africa. Namely, how to guide the critically important mining sector moving in a direction which allows us to curb its negative effects while maximizing benefits. It is an awesome feeling to be able to assemble such a glitter of global power, knowledge, and expertise. It is a testimony to the fact that the issue at hand is not only of concern to Ghana or even the continent of Africa, but it is of equal concern to the world at large. This explains the collaboration of the World Bank, the World Gold Council, the African Free Continental Trade Organization, the London Gold Bullion Association, the Dubai Group, and other international institutions in this summit. We are most grateful to all those who have made this possible. We have also been fortunate to enjoy the fruitful collaboration, support, and encouragement of the diplomatic missions of the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and of course, our sister African countries, the Republic of Guinea, South Africa, and Nigeria. We are particularly proud to welcome the delegation also from Guinea, whose presence underscores the level of importance this must be to the continent of Africa. We also acknowledge the moral support of Ambassador Virginia Palmer, the United States ambassador, who also gave my son all the support in organizing this. Excellency the President, Excellencies and Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, the August audience has been assembled today to begin a 3-day dialogue on the mining industry in Ghana and Africa. Mining has always been critical to Ghana and to the African continent. As you will recall, until a mere 70 years ago, we were called the Gold Coast, reflecting the prevalence of the precious metal in our land. Mining has been the bulwark of our economy through the ages. It remains critical to our nation today, accounting for over 12% of GDP and providing the largest source of employment. Ghana is not the only African country for whom mining is so critical. Most African countries are as rich in mineral resources and are dependent on mining for the raw materials they export to earn the foreign currency they need for development. We also need to underscore the fact that the producer countries are not alone in the reliance upon the mining industry. Mining is equally critical to the global economy because they provide the bulk of the raw materials that feed the industries of the globe and create employment for millions around the world. It is the reason the global market has to be concerned with any developments that threaten to impact negatively on the industry. The universal concern about the impact of illicit mining on the environment in Ghana is therefore perfectly understandable and very much welcome. The pollution of our water bodies, the destruction of our forest space, and the degradation of our virgin lands cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. They exacerbate the destruction of our environment and multiply our vulnerability to the effects of climate change. It cannot be denied that a cocktail of regulatory failures, political miscalculations, and corruption have combined to make the task of curbing the menace more challenging. But there's no issue here which is insoluble. We have an opportunity to calmly dissect the policy options and tools available to deal with the problem. I feel sure it is within the capacity of this gathering of industry experts, end users, and policymakers to fashion our solutions that work for the good of the nation. I feel obliged, however, to call for a sense of perspective. The mining industry has had its challenges in recent years, symbolized more forcibly by the near collapse of Anglo-Gold Ashanti in Obuasi, but Obuasi is back on track, and overall the industry to me is in robust health. Almost all our major companies are improving on their performance. The emergence of the new gold board is a creative initiative with new horizons for the industry, increasing the raising prospects for more investments and higher yields. As I'm sure we will hear from the Minister for Lands, who will be speaking later, the outlook for the future is truly great, with increasing evidence of the presence of some of the new critical minerals the world needs to drive the new green economy. Unfortunately, we are in danger of diverting our attention from the bright prospects ahead onto the avoidable pitfalls of illicit mining for For the sake of the nation, please, let us hold our nerves and allow ourselves to unwittingly obstruct the path to an even more robust industry. Since we began preparations for the summit, the world has gone a seismic change. No matter the perspective from which one may view the consternations in the geopolitical environment, the impact on Africa, on individual countries as well as the entire continent, is profound and irresistible. It injects a new urgency to the challenges we are trying to address. The clear, unambiguous message I glean from the new era is that Africa must chart a new path towards the last quarter of the first century of our post-colonial experience. The record of our first half century of independence has been unremarkable, to say the least. And no matter how we seek to justify our failings, the point is that we cannot persist with failure into the last quarter of the century. The world is telling us that it is crunch time for our beloved continent. Crunch time for every African nation, from east to west, north to south, to position herself for a new approach to the development of the continent. Fortunately, leaders like President Mahama have emerged with a vision fully aligned with what would be the best interest of the continent. The opportunity to hear the President spell out this vision today should give this assembly the extra dimension to set us on a new level. Gold, diamond, platinum, and the critical minerals represent the ultimate in the grace of God to mankind, or if you prefer, the ultimate of nature's gift to man. They are not of yesterday. They've been since the beginning of time and have been arguably the most powerful tools in the evolution of economic development and in world creation for nations as well as individuals. It has been Africa's pride that God has been extraordinarily generous to us in the richness of resources with which the continent has been endowed. These resources are the core of world creation and the economic health of nations. So logically, if we can get the production and management of these resources right, we should be well away from the poverty trap. This is what we seek to explore with this dialogue. Two critical questions moved us to embark on this exercise. The first question: how is it that in the age of science and technology, our generation should be saddled with all the carnage of illicit mining and the nation appears helpless to beat it? The second question: with all the resources with which the continent is endowed, how is it that Africa continues to wallow in poverty and want? Our people constantly at the mercy of foreign philanthropy. In the answers to these questions, I hope this assembly will open a new page in the African narrative. We do not need to belabor the point that gold, silver, and all the precious metals of the mining industry have been with humanity since eternity. The book of Genesis account of creation in the Holy Bible tells us, and the gold of the land is good. And so it has been through every epoch of human history. The majesty and power of King Solomon was best reflected in the grandeur of gold. At the birth of Christ, gold, silver, and fragrance, gold, silver, and fragrance were precious gifts the three wise men brought to the blessed Mary. The pharaohs of Egypt were garlanded in life and in death in the glow of gold. Indeed, every empire known to history rested in great part on gold. And in the industrial age of our time, gold has been the foundation upon which the wealth of nations have been built. Through every phase of this evolution, gold has been extracted from the depth of the land and refined by fire in the furnace. Everyone in this room knows that the process of extracting and refining the metal has never been hazard-free. Indeed, every mining process entails a degree of hazard which cannot be dismissed. But then, The mining industry has always had processes to mitigate the hazards and protects the environment. And my brother, Dr. Samjona, can tell you this. Today, at the global level, it is fair to say mining is safer than it has ever been. And the main operators in the industry in Ghana are no different. They are as efficient and as safe as any other country. So frankly, the ongoing struggle over illicit mining in Ghana is deeply depressing. It is depressing because the destructive effects are so obvious it beggars belief that there should be any pullback on efforts to combat them. And it is depressing because there are alternatives in the acknowledged best practices that offer greater benefits to the affected communities. Probably the most costly effect of illicit mining to me is the distraction from the real challenge we face, which is how we maximize the benefits of our noble heritage. We have to be true to ourselves and admit that we have not done a good job of representing and protecting ourselves in the competitive global market. Sami, I thank you very much on this one. Through the mining industry and then gold in particular has been pivotal to our economy over the years. When the statisticians tell us that mining has contributed an average of 12.3% to GDP and being the largest employer of labor in Ghana, they seem impressive. But how many of us, policymakers as well as social thinkers, have tried to assess the true value of the resources we dispense? How many have followed the value chain to the final consumer to calculate the true value of what we sell as raw materials? The most cursory analysis should tell us that what we proudly exalt in our statistics is only a pittance of the true value of the resources we deliver to the market. The real wealth flows from the value which is added along the so-called value chain. But we are painfully excluded from this juicy portion of the value chain because the industries in the manufacturing process to whom we sell the raw materials are only located in the already rich countries. In this scenario, it is impossible to deny the contention that some sweat to egg out of crumbs. Some sweat to egg out of crumbs while others cream the milk. Indeed, even the gold market has been characterized as split between the golden rich of the end-use world and the gilded paupers of the produce nations. This world of inequity is untenable and unsustainable. Admittedly, this is a much broader issue encompassing the entire structure of the global economy. But because of its commanding posture in the divide between the North and the South, the mining industry is in a position to act as a catalyst for change. If we acknowledge that this inequity is at the root of ever-widening gulf between an increasingly impoverished Africa and the wealthy world, it should dawn on us that we may be storing the ingredients for social disaster and disorder with catastrophic consequences, possibly sooner than we realize. And if we are seized of this danger, then we owe it to ourselves, to the industry we are devoted to, and to posterity, not to look the other way, but to grab the nettle and move the dial in a new direction. The gold market can show the way. It can show the way by encouraging the titans of the market from London to Dubai, from Zurich to Brussels, to invest in partnerships in producer countries for the establishment of manufacturing industry that will give them the capacity to add value to their raw materials. It may seem on the surface a curious request to make seeing this would inevitably lead to the industrial world having to cede or lose a substantial part of their market share of manufactured goods. But that is precisely what needs to be done if the world is to contain the consequences of the inequities of the present. Continued social instability in Africa needs volatility, feeds volatility on global markets, which cannot be good for any investor. An economically strengthened Africa can only be a bulwark for market stability, which must be what the doctor orders for the investor. What has occupied my mind as I watch the warning signs is the necessity for the process towards the necessary reversal through genuine collaboration, rather than divorce. I think it is in everybody's interest to reduce the heightened risk of doing business in Africa and encourage a greater willingness to invest in productive enterprises on the continent. Last year, I had the privilege of addressing the Citibank Group in London, and we urged the international finance community to be less risk-averse towards Africa, but demonstrate a greater disposition to work with the private sector to strengthen their capacity to move the economies upward. The long history of productive collaboration puts the mining sector in a position to be an example of the mutual trust we need going forward. Indeed, the cherished friendships within the Gold Council encourages me to dare to think that we can work together to herald a new era of equity and shared prosperity. I thank you very much.
Please be seated. And with a voice that echoes the counsel of his ancestors and the clarity of a forward-thinking statesman, please help me appreciate our King, His Majesty Otumfur Osei-Tutu. We thank you ever so much, our King, for those wise words, which now set the tone for another foundational address on tokenization.
The man who is determined to turn our water bodies blue and our rivers, our water bodies blue and our forests green again. His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama. Thank you, Cecil.
Thank you. Kindly resume your seats, thank you. His Royal Majesty Osei-Tutu, the second king of the Asante Kingdom, His Excellency, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, John Agyekum Kufuor, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the Honorable Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boa, let me thank you for the brilliant presentation you just gave us. Ministers of State present here, our international partners who have traveled from far to join us at this summit, chief executives and champions of the mining industry, our members of the diplomatic corps, our friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's my singular honor to welcome you all to Ghana and to this landmark gathering, the Mining in Motion Summit 2025. We're gathered here today not merely to talk about minerals, but to reimagine the future of mining in Africa. And so permit me first to express my heartfelt gratitude to Otumfur Osei-Tutu II for his inspiring vision and leadership in convening this summit. Nana, we thank you very much. Your unwavering commitment to Ghana's development and environmental sustainability is admirable. Let me also thank Oheniba Kwekudua and the Ashanti Green Initiative team for delivering on this vision, and also the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources for its strategic collaboration. Africa is rich in gold, bauxite, lithium, manganese, cobalt, and other rare earth minerals. Our continent is said to hold about 91% of global platinum reserves. We hold about 79% of phosphate rock. Over half of the cobalt and manganese in the world is found in Africa. Vast and tapped deposits of lithium and graphite. And yet we remain among the poorest continents globally. Ghana, as the leading gold producer in Africa, reflects both the opportunities and the contradictions in this sector. Mining contributes substantially to our GDP, to our foreign exchange and employment. But I must say it has not transformed the lives of our citizens as it should. And so we must ask ourselves the hard question: why does the wealth beneath our feet not translate into prosperity above ground? A major reason is our extractive structure. We export raw materials, raw minerals, and we import finished product. But the real value, which is jobs, technology, and revenue, is captured elsewhere. My administration is committed to moving beyond extraction to transformation. And this means that we'll be investing in the downstream industry of the mineral value chain, refining our gold and developing our jewelry industry, processing our bauxite into alumina and aluminum, converting lithium into battery components for export, and using iron ore to feed a steel industry. We must integrate mining into the broader economic framework, linking it to our manufacturing, energy, logistics, and research. That is how we build resilient and diversified economies. In the past, huge concessions were carved out for foreign mining interests. State mining assets were sold to foreign companies because we lacked the capital, the technology, and the human resources to fully exploit the natural resources that nature so bountifully blessed us with. But that situation has changed now. It is possible to raise capital. Technology is available. And Ghana has a huge human resource with expertise in every aspect of the extractive industry. We therefore believe that there should be increased participation and investments from Ghanaians in exploiting our mineral wealth. We welcome foreign investors to partner with us in our extractive industry. We want a partnership of mutual benefit. And we commend the relationship we currently enjoy with our partners such as Goldfields, AngloGold, Cardinal Namdini, Newmont, and all the others. We'll soon codify our thoughts concerning increased Ghanaian participation using vehicles like our stock exchange and other instruments to increase participation of the Ghanaian private sector in our natural resource exploitation. As the world becomes more transactional in relations between countries, it becomes even more critical for us to use our natural resource endowment to create prosperity for our people. Another pillar of reform is inclusive mining. Over 1 million people in Ghana depend on artisanal and small-scale mining for sustenance. However, this sector has often been informal, conflict-prone, and environmentally damaging. We're therefore taking bold steps to formalize the small-scale mining sector through initiatives such as the Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program, the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project. And as the Minister said, there are various initiatives underway. These initiatives aim to provide legal access to land, training, equipment, and shared infrastructure. We also will eliminate the use of mercury and supporting environmentally safe alternatives for mining. Let me be clear at this juncture. Artisanal miners are not enemies of the state. If properly trained and supported, they can be allies in our development. Working together with the small-scale mining sector, we will reclaim our forest reserves and restore the purity of our water bodies. Our river guards are working on clearing mining activities in our water bodies and on the banks of our rivers. We've successfully, as the minister told you, we have successfully cleared illegal miners out of 8 out of the 9 no-go zone forest reserves. We will track excavators, as the minister said, in order to know whether they are being used for illegal mining or not. And we intend to change the permitting regime. Ghana has more excavators in this country than in the whole of Africa. We're going to change the permitting regime. You will not be allowed to import an excavator or put it on a ship unless you get a permit before you can ship an excavator. Mining cannot be sustainable unless it's also responsible. Environmental degradation, water pollution, and community displacement are not inevitable byproducts of mining. They are the consequences of poor governance and enforcement. We're strengthening environmental, social, and governance frameworks across the mining sector. And this will include, like I said, banning toxic chemicals in gold processing like mercury, mandating site rehabilitation. And so it means that small-scale miners and medium-scale mining must also have rehabilitation clauses in their permits to reclaim the land. Enforcing community development agreements and promoting renewable energy use in our mining sector. True policy and regulation will ensure that every ounce of gold or gram of lithium mined in Ghana leaves with a positive green footprint. The world is transitioning. The use of fossil fuels is waning, and clean energy is rising. With this comes a surge in demand for critical minerals like lithium, graphite, nickel, and other rare earth minerals. Ghana is ready to play a central role. We're establishing policy, legal, and investment frameworks to explore and develop critical mineral reserves, build refining and battery manufacturing capacity, attract ethical long-term investors, promote local content and technology transfer. In this new global order, our mineral wealth is not just a national asset, but a strategic geopolitical resource. The Gold Board, a key plank in my administration strategy to reform the gold mining sector and ensure maximum benefits for Ghanaians from our gold resources, has taken off. In its short existence, it has sanitized the gold sector, ensuring maximum returns from our gold exports. Ghana's gold exports earned the country 2.7 billion. Ghana's gold exports through the PMMC and the Gold Board earned the country $2.7 billion between January and April. And this figure is expected to increase exponentially throughout the year. But the Gold Board is not only about exporting gold. It will soon roll out a track and trace system to ensure that Ghana's gold exports are procured from environmentally sustainable sources. The Gold Board will work to train artisanal and small-scale miners in responsible and sustainable mining practices. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, in collaboration with the Gold Board, is also soon to launch, in cooperation with the private sector, an ambitious project to reclaim 10,000 hectares of mined-out lands. The Gold Board will also be working towards attaining LBMA certification for Ghana's gold. Excellencies, the future of mining is not national, it is continental. The African Continental Free Trade Area provides us with an unparalleled opportunity to retain value within Africa, establish regional supply chains, create joint refining and research institutions, and strengthen intra-African investment flows. So let us move from competition to collaboration. Ghana is open to partnerships with Guinea on bauxite, with DRC on cobalt, with South Africa on platinum, and all willing nations on mutual beneficiation. For this to succeed, we need governance anchored in transparency and accountability, and my administration is committed to strengthening the Minerals Commission, digitizing licensing and monitoring, publishing mineral revenues and contracts, removing bottlenecks for responsible investors. We will work to ensure that mining revenues benefit all Ghanaians, especially the host communities. Development must be visible, equitable, and lasting in our mining communities. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mining in motion is more than just a theme. It is a declaration that Africa's mineral wealth will no longer be a curse, but will be a blessing. That Ghana's gold will not enrich others while leaving our people in poverty. And that this summit will chart a new path of value, sustainability, and dignity. I therefore call on all present, governments, investors, miners, regulators, and communities to rise to this challenge. Let us lead not just in production, but also in innovation, responsibility, and shared prosperity. With this spirit of cooperation and resolve, I have the honor.
Ghana King TV. And down share how na subscribe channel amami share video no from adofo na adofo nyina o hwe na o share. We are na what share doing our comments section ho our tre kwan so. Esu abakwasem amane ene amamre ene esua ho Ghana ho komo ene yedi Ghana hin sem na headquarters ene ha to be fa Ghana hin sem hwatia na ye Ghana King TV. We eye yewura Otumfur na C22 abebiu nyamekesi. More fearful na yebo dia kase ene mo hu se dwumadie kese e koso e wone ya wakimpiski owon kran eye empanifo ahodo amanhene ahodo atitru ahodo ene mine next companies ya omoye good hu dwumadie ene hu dwumadie ene Ghana mampani President Dormaahene Mahama ene the Ghana King Otumfur na C22 abebiu na mekese ene Ghana Amahene Ashanti Kingdom no ene hyiane ene dwumadie omudi ye ne se ekwanya efa so ema gold a ewo Ghana ha ye befa so a ye behwe ne ye ne na atimi etumpon na yehwe businessman ahodo a moye miners ye free amonone ne wo Ghana ina na ebihyiaye na ekwanye so mofa so a galamsi a enkofo enam kuntunase na omutu ese yensase ese yinsuo ene ye japade ye forest yakese ewo Ghana ha no omobehwe se omo ebisi anokwan na yabomodin amasi nsuo ase ni na no ese timi ayeye aba abisi ne dedem eno na mpanifu hyiaye na Ghana mampani ni mpanifu ewo abam na ato omo sa efre Ghana King se edu babi se ni dia na enimdie nipa omo nimdie nyansa adwen ene yeto yensa efre won na ya dwen Ghana ho ama Ghana atimi enya fapem eyeden asi eno tie san kokromutie hu mopo se obedi dwumasie na se wonfra yewura na na se tutu abebio na mekese Otumfur a na chese dwumadie na mbedie no kra no ensiaga na ene menomo kasaidie empanifo atimi asensan krata adwendwen akwanya ya sabre ye de ye nemu ye behwe nya toto Ghana ana enwai wura na Otumfur ose tutu abebio na mekese yewura opemso eba ya obetre na dwen de man Ghana man ne Ghana mampani eno ti eno na busua onwadofo yetwa hom emfoni de kirewo ema hu de ne ekoso o Ghana ye capital town eye enkran Accra eye Kimpiski hotel ho ene mpanifo ebehia mu atitru ne amantin ebehia mu a dwumadie ekoso eno ti medical show border das Ghana King ye ekoso bia wa hinsem ho de betwa hom emfoni atro na mehu de ekoso enti ne eye 2nd June 2025 ewo afimu ene mpanifo ehyiaye anopai ewo Ghana enkran ewo Kimpiski eno ti onadofo kame home na share video no madofo ni na wo hwe na o share Chewadrin comment section Kosua na Ghana King na abakosem amanye ne amamra hu bi da de koso Ghana hensem ene ye de bebro na ko position se wagye mra ni adaje e de amami ye be se hia biom e Ghana King TV